Trump's tariffs. First things first, I've been watching since it began hours and hours of tariff footage. So a bit like all your friends and everyone on social media, we're obviously all experts now. Obviously I'm not, and I also doubt anyone is. Anyway, let's crack on. So the reality on the ground from what I'm hearing is small business that were bringing in goods that were on the boat. So you fill a container with however many units, you're a small business, you want to spend 100,000. And this is, I've actually done this. And then you've penciled in how much budget you have. And so you order just enough to get as much to you as possible. So you order as infrequently as possible. So anyway, you did this prior to the tariffs. And your goods are on the water, and you know when they land, you won't have the money to pay for them because 100,000 is now 200,000. Let's not do the sums. It's a lot more than what you envisaged. And if you're a small company, you just do not have access to the capital. And so small US businesses will be the same. So you got a choice. Can you leave it on the water? Can you leave it in the port? No to the first one. Can you leave it at the port? No, because the costs once your container's landed, I think you get in the UK anyway, you get like a 2-week window where it's not too bad. And then after that, it's thousands of dollars a day if you don't unload your container. And obviously they're not going to release it unless you paid. So the reality for small business is bankruptcy, going into administration, getting rid of people. That's the reality. There's not an upside for small business that has goods coming from China. There's a chance, depending on the date at which your goods went on the vessel, that the tariffs would come in from the date of the tariff, not the date you shipped. I'm not sure of what rules there are. But as we stand, a lot of businesses, or if they're ordering now, they were going to order 100,000. They're now, why would you now order a $50,000 worth of goods? It's now not worth it. And why would you bring in the goods when now you've got $50,000 worth of goods and 50,000 going to the administration? You're not going to do it. Business is over. So that's what I'm hearing. Whether that's that, and now do you just wait? Do you just wait for this to blow over? So then you're going to run out of stock. When's that going to hit the headlines? That literally all the stuff that comes from China is now not in America. That's an issue. I assume it's a huge issue because so many things are relying on those goods to come in because it is billions of dollars. So that's my reality number one. Big business, they'll have access to lines of credit and they'll be able to pay the tariff should they need to. Apple, I heard, got 4 jumbo jets full of phones flown into the US to get there before the tariffs. Small business can't do that. So inadvertently, what I'm hearing is that Trump has killed small business imports from China. Okay, and until he sorts this out, that's just going to be getting worse and worse because so many small businesses are right on the brink of surviving and not surviving. And I'm afraid that is the reality of small business. So those people's and now just think of it. If you're now bringing in 50,000 and you were running an operation that dealt with $100,000 of goods, you now probably need 2 less people. So at some point, if this holds as we are, you're going to see people getting unemployed. Okay, that's number one. That's the reality of the situation. The next reality is that a few trillion, I think it's $7 trillion dollars has been wiped off the stock market. So that I think generally affects the wealthier end of Americans. So they're on a 20% drawdown in their 401ks, their pensions, and maybe Trump doesn't care about that because I've heard him specifically mention that he's there for the ones that don't have 401ks, don't have pensions, don't have stock portfolios. So he doesn't care that all that money's been wiped off. But the crucial factor here is the ones that don't have the 401ks, the pensions, the stock portfolios, they're employed by the ones that do. So it's not a good move to give those guys a haircut on their investments because now they've got less money, less expansion, less growth, and less jobs. So it's a double-edged sword, that one. Next point, the what is the stock market telling us? Well, it's telling us that Trump's tariffs have wiped off significant future growth, future value in the US. That's what the market's telling us right now. I'm not saying it can't be rectified, but that's the truth. Gold is telling us something. Gold is telling us that, one, there's massive uncertainty and there's massive inflation. It's up 27% this year and around 60% since the beginning of 2024. That's a big rise for gold. Gold doesn't do that. So that's an interesting reaction to the tariffs. The other big one that's probably a bigger worry, the bond market generally owns the world economy. And it seems like the tariffs have forced the Chinese, they have a lot of bonds, the US treasuries, and over time they have been decreasing their holding. And this has only sped up that decrease in their US treasury bond holding. And it means the dollar is weakening significantly. And it means, because the price of the bonds go down, the yields go up. And it's not gonna, that's backfiring on Trump, because he needs to, well, he doesn't, but they need to roll their treasuries. Loads are being rolled in this coming year. And at the moment, they're being rolled at higher rates. And his whole point was like, I want rates down, I want rates down. Well, they've gone up. So that's backfiring. I don't think will he care that much? It seems to be a bee in his bonnet that he wants lower rates, but that's not the case. That's the next thing. I've mentioned previously about onshoring. Again, I feel this is, I mentioned he's obviously got only a 4-year term. They don't know if the tariffs are going to last. So what company is going to build a factory in the US? I mean, let's not get it wrong here. The US is the second largest manufacturing country in the world. So it's not like they don't do it. And I get it. He's trying to encourage more companies to build factories. But if anything, okay, you'll get construction work, maybe for the next few years. So you got that construction labor, but the factories, they'll be automated. They'll be robots. They're not going to have people in. So you've just got that construction labor that's going to fizzle out, or at least, what are they going to do? Keep on building factories? I don't know. I think it's a real tenuous argument behind the onshoring of factories, because it's been spoken about so much in the news. The US does not have that type of labor to sit in a factory, stitching, sewing, cutting. And an American worker is so expensive relative to where they've outsourced it to. So anyway, I've touched on that before. That could mop up some jobs in the construction phase, but I feel the amount they've killed the small business, it's a real tenuous link there. The biggest impact, not the biggest impact, but a non-unsurprising one. The rest of world is suddenly forging alliances with each other. And that's a massive backfire for the US economy and for US workforce, for everything US, because suddenly they all want to talk to each other. Australia wants to talk to China, Singapore wants to talk to China, you name it. Every country now wants to talk to China and to each other and to build stronger ties, because they're thinking, oh, well, we're not going to be doing as much business with America. So for me, that's a massive miscalculation on the Trump tariff repercussions, because that's exactly what he doesn't want. At least I got the impression that he was trying to damage China so that more countries would come to the US, but it seems to have done the exact opposite. And it's always politics, government, they seem to be terrible at execution. For example, anytime any government has got involved in anything, they've generally made a balls up. Brexit, massive balls up. You name your historical event, it's normally a calamity, and it just follows with calamitous disaster in the background. And I feel that this is Trump's, just his probability of making a success of this is around 1%. And that I think I'm being generous, just because of, don't want to sound weird, the global economy is a living ecosystem, and if any little part of it breaks, because it's all been refined to make goods at fractions of the cost of probably what they should be. You know, the shipping lines, the couriers, the natural resources. Every company just dives to make everything as cost effective as possible, and to go in and shake this cage. There's going to be some broken eggs, and maybe it's the reset he was looking for, and this kind of reset I'm hearing about. But the chances of him executing it successfully are so small. And what would success look like? It would look like, for him, apparently, lower rates. It's kind of a weird objective when you're at 5%. More factories in the US. Okay, more jobs. Apparently that Rust Belt is, there's lots of like empty towns and empty where manufacturing used to be. But that's just what happens as economies mature. Anyway, so is that success? And then it's kind of making America an island. The way success for him looks is making America its own little island with less trade, is the way I'm feeling this playing out. And at the moment, he's made goods more expensive. I think he's really hurt that bottom end job market for small business, and I think he's actually hurt the higher end because of the market cap knock he's done. We're hearing about credit lines that we're going to back new companies, new startups. They've all been pulled because the market has just changed. So the US for me is what should they do, or what should Trump have done? Well, it's a capital raising machine. Chinese companies list in America. If that were to stop, he made a quip about delisting Chinese companies. It's the most idiotic quip. He's made a lot of idiotic quips, but that one is an absolute disaster, because you want every Chinese company listed in America. You want them there. The stock market is your backbone. And if they all left and went and listed in China on the Hang Seng, it'd be a complete disaster from the US. And for him not to know that is beyond recognition. The US attracts Chinese talent. It attracts Chinese companies to list on its stock exchanges. It attracts brains. It brain drains the globe. So make it easier for companies to operate. Lower regulation. I hear a lot of problems about being able to build stuff. Get those permits through. You're onshoring, but apparently it's impossible to get a permit because of ecology. Sort that stuff out. I feel like he should be doubling down on his strengths. Instead, he's attacked the country's weaknesses, which is being a manufacturing hub. So I'm sure he knows what he's doing. He is the 1%. He is the Trump, but I just think this could have been done another way. I think dream scenario, because I want the US to succeed as much as the next man. I want every country to succeed as much as the next man. Is all this gets washed away, minimal tariffs everywhere. The US doubles down on its place to go for capital, for brains, for business, and they work with China in a fair. I mean, China are now talking about respect and all this, and showing respect to the Chinese political party and so on. Well, I hear a lot of talk about stolen IP, intellectual property, stolen ideas, and all this kind of stuff. So it works both ways. What to do now? If Chinese have this growing wealth, and Europe and Asia, Trump should be getting US companies to sell back to them all the stuff they've made, all the tech that they've made historically. Sell it back in. That's your new market. Yes, the US is the biggest consumer in the world, but that's changing. So sell back the other way now. You don't like your trade deficit, sell to them. Sell US products back to them. So that's it. Just good luck to the Trump on this. This is a 1% shot, and we all love a hero. So I hope you get it done, but at the moment, it's a mess. That's it.